You don't go back to Baby Shark. Baby Shark comes back to you, whether you want it to or not. It's you want to talk about a real horror story. Baby Shark is a nightmare, is a living nightmare that we are all living kind of in, in rotation.
Life a la Latina presenta Socialiciando. Sí, Socialiciando. Con Alicia Civita.
How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good. Well, South Florida, electricity machines that freak out. That's,
Yeah, sure.
that's what happened. And talking about freaking out, um, I have been a fan of more than serial killers, profilers since I was a teenager. I remember reading the John Walsh book about how their mind works and all of that. And I wanted to start with that. Were you guys fans? Were you guys ever interested in those worlds?
Yeah, I definitely had a dark, macabre interest growing up, reading about these cases, um, consuming horror films and things like that, and kind of yeah, I was curious about how the human condition can engage in that type of activity. But wasn't until I was much older that I kind of realized that the horror genre and things like that are, you know, a dress rehearsal for handling fear of my own and facing my own shadow and kind of self-reflection in that way. But yeah, I certainly had an interest growing up.
I
What
was
about you
scared of
guys?
I was scared of everything as a child. I slept in my parents' bed till I was like 14 years old. That's not an exaggeration. I very few film experiences in my life has shaken me as much as when I watched The Sixth Sense for the first time. That movie I've still only seen once, and it scared me so horribly. Which is also crazy because I auditioned for it. I was a child actor. I auditioned for M. Night. So I knew
It's
Really?
what
a
it
good
was. I knew what it
it's
was
a good thing
about.
you weren't in it. Jeez.
No, really good thing.
Yeah.
So, as I grew up and you know, somewhat faced my fears, I did develop an interest, like I feel like the rest of the world. And I remember reading In Cold Blood by Truman Capote for the first time and putting it down. I still haven't finished that book because it was so unsettling. But I think that's a really good example of something that, when something is presented to you in a way. And Zodiac is one of my favorite films. Seven is one of my favorite films. There's that aspect of the genre that is fascinating, of finding these things out and getting to the bottom of it and finding out the who and the why. That is such um that goes hand in hand with the sensationalization of it all. But when something is presented to you in a way, and I think this is inherent in our story, it actually turns you off from the sensationalization of it. When you understand the ramifications and the ripple effect and the emotional impact of it,
The pain, yeah.
the
Yeah,
pain.
yeah, yeah.
You're
And
right.
now the three of you are kind of the superheroes of the story in a way. And I wanted to know, how did you approach the characters, knowing already what we know about the story? What was the starting point to develop those characters that were so pivotal to really heal the pain in a way of the families, probably?
I, we've talked a lot about, like, how each of us individually prepare and then playing real characters and the level of research. But I think if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. The what I'm so struck by is when I'm watching this back about how almost word for word it's been translated onto the screen. You know, I think a lot of credit has to be given to that, to the structure that we were given to play in, and how that structure worked, and we were able to tell these stories, you know, and really kind of turn the light and shine it on other people who I believe their story mattered more.
Was there ever any doubt to whether you wanted to be a part of the project, particularly because of that? Because it seems that we're into our true crime era, whether telling the stories or in podcast or presenting the stories of from the killer's point of view. Was there ever a moment that you went like, I don't know if I want to be part of this? And if it was, what changed your mind?
All three of us had and continue to have very young children. And for me, my taste for anything with higher stakes than the Great British Baking Show for a while was too much. I was so focused on these little lives. But we all had conversations with Patrick McManus, the creator of this show, and he let us know exactly how this story was going to be handled and the care and respect that the victims were going to be treated with in the telling of this story, and that is what sealed the deal for me.
There was a really great scene that I auditioned with where Sam talks to his wife, and it's specifically about whether or not he should take on the case. And this is after he learned what Gacy actually did and confessed. And so I did that scene, and then I got the part, and I spoke to Patrick, and then I brought it back to my wife that I got the part, and we had just had our daughter, and she was a month old. And the line in that scene is, I know you. I know that this is going to consume you because I know that's how you are, and I know that's how you're going to approach this. And for me, Michael, I related to that very much because I knew, I think any of us could attest to that. These jobs have a tendency to consume you. And, you take on a part of it and you need to know who you're getting in the water with. And so once I learned that it was Patrick, and once I spoke to Patrick and got significant endorsements from people who have worked with him, that not only is he a great collaborator, but he's a really great person. Um, and then I knew, the cast, and there came to that point where it was like, this is something that is worth doing because of the people involved.
And what about you, James? Did you have second thoughts or prevention some?
Oh no, I mean, once we're in, I had zero second thoughts. I believed in this crew and this team from the beginning, but because of what Michael was saying, because of Patrick McManus, and it was very clear what we were trying to do, and that these were good people, and that they weren't sensationalizing anything, and that was really important to me, because if they were deciding to take the other direction here, it's not something I need to do. And I listen, this is hard material, and I'm guilty of taking work home with me. I work very hard actively to not take work home with me. And so, when you dive into material like this, yeah, you need to know that you have good partners and you're doing it for the right reasons.
Well, I wanted to add, that was my last question, because I saw an interview with Charlie Hunnam, which he said that to end up his, after he finished filming the Ed Gein story, he went to Ed Gein's cemetery plot to say goodbye to him. And then he felt free, which I thought it was incredible. And I wanted to know, what was the first thing you did once it was done to kind of put these characters to bed and say, okay, I did my piece, and now it's time to go back to, I don't know, Baby Shark. or whatever the
You
kids
don't
are.
you don't go back to Baby Shark. Baby Shark comes back to you, whether you want it to or not. It's you want to talk about a real horror story. Baby Shark is a nightmare, is a living nightmare that we are all living kind of in rotation. I'll say this. I'll say that because it was fairly easy for me to walk away from my character, but the Michael Chernus did a lot of the heavy lifting on this series as far as having to go to places that nobody really wants to go, and he's the type of he's also as soon as Patrick told me who he had cast as Gacy, it might not mean much to anybody who hears the announcement outside of the actors, but it's like it's a definitive message to other actors. Like, this is the type of story by casting Michael Chernus, this is the type of show this is going to be, and it means a lot to me. That type of actor being in the lead is like a huge confidence booster, and lets me know exactly how Patrick is going to handle the rest of the storytelling.
I'm with you on not Baby Sharks. My kids are older, but we were Barney the Wiggles. Those were my nightmares.
Yeah.
The Wiggles has stayed with me a very long time.
Yeah.
The Wiggles is hard to shake. It's hard to wiggle your way out of that one.
Only the blue Wiggles still there. They're all new, all of them.
Yeah, if Baby Shark is Nightmare on Elm Street, then the Wiggles is true crime. That's you know what I mean. They're on tour.
And Miss Rachel is Freddy Krueger.
That's right,
I escaped Miss Rachel completely, and I've been fighting curiosity. I don't want to know.
Yeah,
Miss Rachel is great. Actually, she takes a lot of crap. She's great.
I actually do. I was going to say I like Miss.
James,
I'm gonna not let us throw on Miss Rachel under the bus too.
Like, not allowed in our household. I tell my son, I'm like, no, dude, he doesn't even work here anymore. Blippy, gone. Blippy, like,
oh yeah.
See you later, dude. You will never be on our TV screen again, ever.
This ended up really well. Let's keep laughing. Thank you guys so much, because without your art, we would have not seen the dark and the light. So thank you so much for taking this adventure that I'm sure was crazy. I'm sure it was fun when you weren't filming, but I'm sure also took a lot of you. So thank you so much. And thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.